या वाह, अच्छा ध्यान दिलाया अनिल जी आपने, सही है, नहीं तो आज फिर मिस होता हो। तो हरे कृष्णा तरुण।
हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्ण everybody.
कृष्णा अजय, हरे कृष्णा
आगे छुट्टी वहां क्या अजय?
हाँ
Sorry.
अजय को पूछ रहा हूँ, घूम घाम के आगे क्या?
जी हाँ जी हाँ जी।
बढ़िया।
जो ब्राइस पार्क एंड Zion Park and all that. Hare Krishna Jyoti.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
I'll be listen in only mode, Kajin, please, today.
Sure, no problem. Are you in India or here, Jyoti?
I'm going on Thursday, that's
I'm
why.
going on Thursday. Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Hare Krishna Sachin. Oh, all right, so we'll get started. So last week, again, we have started Skanda 4, Canto 4, and we are on chapter 4, Adhyay 4, and Shlok 21st is what we completed last week. And as we know, Iswat Abhi, Mother Sati, of course, insisted on going to Maharaj Daksha's house to attend the Havan, because of course it's her father's house and she thinks the invitation is not required. Lord Shiva warns her against that, but still Mother Sati reaches to Prajapati Daksha's house, and then she finds that essentially she feels kind of insulted, and then she is talking to now her father Prajapati Daksha. Yeah. So what we are reading right now is what Mother Sati is telling Prajapati Daksha. So she is saying that, my dear father, the opulence we possess is impossible for either you or your flatterers to imagine. For persons who engage in fruitive activities by performing great sacrifices, are concerned with satisfying their bodily necessities by eating food stuff offered as a sacrifice. So she is essentially telling Prajapati Daksh that you are all doing this Mahayagya only for satisfying the bodily necessities. And what Mother Sati is saying, that we actually can exhibit our opulences simply by desiring to do so. Like, so what she's saying is we don't have to perform this Mahayagya. Do you remember the name of Mahayagya which is being performed? याद है यज्ञ का नाम? So Brahspati Savaya, yeah? Remember?
Brahaspati.
So yeah. So that's the Mahayagya which is being performed by Prajapati Daksh, and as we know, all Devatas, all Gandharvas, everyone, all Rishis, Munis are all gathered there to do this Mahayagya, except he did not invite Lord Shiva. Yeah. So what Mother Sati is saying is, for us, all these opulences which are desiring by doing this Mahayagya, we can just get by desiring to do so. And this can be achieved by great personalities who are renounced, self-realized souls. What she's saying is like Lord Shiva, essentially, those things can be easily obtained, is what Mother Sati is saying. So you're able to hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll start from the next shlok. 22nd, Anilji.
जी हाँ. नैतेन देहेन हरे कृतागसो देहोब्द द भवेनाल मलम कुजन्मना बीड़ा ममा भूत कुजन प्रसंगता सज्जनम दिग्यो महताम पद्यकृत. You are an offender at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva, and unfortunately I have a body produced from yours. I am very much ashamed of our body relationship and I condemn myself because my body is contaminated by relationship with the person who is an offender at the lotus feet of the greatest personality. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, right? So you can see how upset Mother Sati is there by not seeing Lord Shiva's place in the Mahayagya, right? And she's basically saying, Netena Dehena Hare Kritagaso. Yeah. And she's basically saying that my body is contaminated by a relationship with a person who is an offender at the lotus feet of the great personality, Lord Shiva. Yeah. Tarun?
Gotram Twadyatam Bhagwan Prashtvajo Dashayanitayaha Yada Sudurmanaha Vyapetena Masitmita Mashu Tadasaha Vyutrukshaya Etat Kunapam Tvat Angajam. Because of our family relationship, when Lord Shiva addresses me as Dakshayani, I at once become morose, and my jolliness and my smile at once disappear. I feel very much sorry that my body, which is just like a bag, has been produced by you. I shall therefore give it up. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. So Sati is saying that Gotram Twadiyam, yeah. Like because of the Gotram, right? Because of the family relationship, Bhagwan Vishdvajo, he calls her as like Dakshayani, right? Like because father is Maharaja Daksh, so she is called as Dakshayani. And whenever Lord Shiva calls her by that, what she is saying is Yada Sudurmana hai, like my jolliness and smile disappears and she becomes morose, is what she is saying. So what she is saying is, so I shall therefore give it up. Yeah. So I shall therefore give up the body is what Mother Sati is saying. Ajay?
Sure. Maitreya Uvaj Ityadhare Dakshan Munadya Shatruhana Chita Vudichi Nishid Sad Shant Vak Spashtava Jalam Pit Dulkasvinta Nimilya Drigyo Patham Samavishat. Maitreya the sage told Vidur, O annihilator of enemies, while thus speaking to her father in the arena of sacrifice, Sati sat down on the ground and faced north. Dressed in saffron garments, she sanctified herself with water and closed her eyes to absorb herself in the process of mystic yoga. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So then what Sati does, and of course, as we know, Maitreya Muni is telling this to Mahatma Vidur, because if you remember, Mahatma Vidur asked the question to Maitreya Muni that Sati, being like this Prakriti Janani, how come she gives up her body? Yeah. And that's what Maitreya Muni is telling Mahatma Vidur. And so what Sati does is then, it says here, dressed in saffron garments, she sanctified herself with water. I say, yes, Prishtava Jalam Pitadukul Samvrita. Yeah. And then what she does is closes her eyes and absorbs herself in the process of mystic yoga. And actually, it's a nice purport. So we'll read this. Tarun?
It is said that when a man desires to quit his body, he dresses in saffron garments. Therefore, it appears that Sati changed her dress, indicating that she was going to quit the body given her by Daksha. Daksha was Sati's father, so instead of killing Daksha, she decided that it would be better to destroy the part of his body which was hers. Thus, she decided to give up the body of Daksha by the yogic process. Sati was the wife of Lord Shiva, who is known as Yogeshwara, the best among all yogis, because he knows all the mystic process of yoga. So it appeared that Sati also knew them. Either she learned yoga from her husband, or she was enlightened because she was the daughter of such a great king as Daksha. The perfection of yoga is that one can give up one's body or release oneself from the embodiment of material elements according to one's desire. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so it's explaining the yogic process of how the, in the old days, like how the Mahatma used to give up like they used to go in Samadhi and all that, right? So that's what essentially Sati's position is being described right now. So let's read this, Ajay.
Sure. So yogis who have attained perfection are not subject to death by natural laws. Such perfect yogis can leave the body whenever they desire. Generally, the yogi, first of all, becomes mature in controlling the air passing within the body, thus bringing the soul to the top of the brain. Then when the body bursts into flames, the yogi can go anywhere he likes. Thus, yoga system recognizes the soul, and thus it is distinct from so-called yoga process for controlling the cells of the body, which has been discovered in the modern age. The real yoga process accepts the transmission of the soul from one planet to another or one body to another, and it appears from this incident that Sati wanted to transfer her soul to another body or sphere. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so I think very interestingly, a couple of things mentioned here, right? Like, and we have seen a lot of big yogis taking the Samadhi through the controlling the air passing within the body, right? And what it says is bringing the soul to the top of the brain, because they bring it up and then it get out of the soul comes out of the brain actually. And like even if we remember, like Swami Vivekananda ji did the same thing. Like he went into the meditation and then they said, okay, tomorrow morning, basically he won't be there. So it's very interestingly, the whole process is the yoga process by which the soul leaves the body, and this also proves that, hey, this is the physical body, and then everything we have been talking about, like the soul and the super soul, how it actually exists within the body, right? And how it leaves the body, and that's when that's how people kind of in this physical world supposed to be dead, right? But actually they are not. The soul travels to another body or sphere, and with the yogic process, they can control where they are going to go, where the soul is going to go. It's very interestingly mentioned here. Yeah. And Jyoti?
I think she said she's in listen mode only.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks. Sachin? Sachin, you're on mute. Sachin, you're on mute.
How about now?
Yeah, better.
Krutva samana vanilo jita sana sodana mutthapya cha nabhi chakratah shaner hradi sthapya dhiyorasi stidam kanthada bhruvo madhya manindi tanayat. First of all, she sat in the required sitting posture, and then she carried the life air upwards and placed it in the position of equilibrium near the navel. Then she raised her life air mixed with intelligence to the heart, and then gradually towards the pulmonary passage, and from there to between her eyebrows. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so see how it's being described, right? She sat in the sitting posture, right? And then the life air upwards, placed in the position of equilibrium near the navel. Yeah, Nabhi Chakratah. Actually, it's mentioned, I think there are like 6 or 7 chakras, and then how the pranvayu, so how the pranvayu is pulled up. So it's gets it near the navel, and then she raised her life air, pranvayu, yeah, mixed with intelligence to the heart. Says here, Shane Ridhi. And Istapya Dhiyorasi Stitam. So then gets it there, and then gradually towards the preliminary passage, and then Kant, right, from the throat to bro, like the between the eyebrows, and so it says here, right, between the passage and from there to between her eyebrows. Actually, it's pretty nicely described. The whole yogic process is nicely described in the purport. You can read this. Hare Krishna, Jitendra.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Padhoge?
The yogic process is to control the air passing within the body in different places called the chakra, the 6 chakra circles of air circulation. The air is raised from the abdomen to the navel, from the navel to the heart, from the heart to the throat, from the throat between the eyebrows, and from between the eyebrows to the top of the cerebrum. That is the sum and substance of practicing yoga. Before practicing the real yoga system, one has to practice the sitting postures, because this helps in the breathing exercises which controls the air going upwards and downwards. This is a great technique which one has to practice to attain the highest perfectional stage of yoga, but such practice is not meant for this age. No one in this age can attain the perfectional stage of such yoga, but people indulge in practicing sitting postures, which is more or less a gymnastic process. By such bodily gymnastics, one may develop good circulation and may therefore keep one's body fit. But if one strictly restricts oneself to this gymnastic process, one cannot attain the highest perfectional stage. The yoga process, as described in the Keshav Struti, prescribe how one can control his living force according to his desire and transmigrate from one body to another, from one place to another. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Isn't that clearly given? So, right, as you might have read before, like there are 6 chakras. Yeah. And how it travels from like abdomen up to almost the cerebrum. And it also says this process is described in Keshav Shruti, which says how one can control his living force according to his desire and transmigrate from one body to another, or from one place to another. Yeah. So, Sachin?
In other words, yoga practice is not meant to keep the body fit. Any transcendental process of spiritual realization automatically helps one to keep the body fit, for it is the spirit soul that keeps the body always fresh. As soon as the spirit soul is out of the body, the material body immediately begins to decompose. Any spiritual process keeps the body fit without separate endeavor. But if one takes it that the ultimate aim of yoga is to maintain the body, then he is mistaken. The real perfection of yoga is elevation of the soul to a higher position, or the liberation of the soul from material entanglement. Some yogis try to elevate the soul to higher planetary system, where the standard of life is different from that of this planet, and where the material comforts, lifespan, and other facilities for self-realization are greater. And some yogis endeavor to elevate the soul to the spiritual world, the spiritual Vaikuntha planets. The Bhakti Yoga process directly elevates the soul to the spiritual planets, where life is eternally blissful and full of knowledge. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga is considered to be the greatest of all yoga systems. Right.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So there's a lot of knowledge in this paragraph. Yeah. And ending with, of course, the Bhakti Yoga, especially in today's age, which directly elevates the soul to the spiritual planets. And spiritual planets where life is eternally blissful and full of knowledge. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga is considered to be the greatest of all yoga systems. And this has been mentioned by Lord Sri Krishna himself, even in Bhagavad Gita, right? As we know. Anilji?
जी हाँ एवं स्वदेहं महतां महीयसा मुहुः समारोपितम् इकमादरात् जिहासति दक्षरुषा मनस्विनी Dadhar Gatre Shunilagni Dharanam. Thus, in order to give up her body, which had been so respectfully and affectionately seated on the lap of Lord Shiva, who is worshipped by great sages and saints, Sati, due to anger towards her father, began to meditate on the fairy air within the body. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Yeah. And says here, like Sati Devi decided to quit the body she had obtained from Daksha's body, as we have been reading, right? And she wanted to transfer herself to another body so that she might have completely uncontaminated association with Lord Shiva. Of course, it is understood that in her next life, she would take birth as the daughter of the Himalayas, Parvati, and then she would again accept Lord Shiva as her husband. Sati and Lord Shiva are eternally related. Even after she changes her body, their relationship is never broken. Yeah. ततः स्वभर्तुश्चरणाम्बुजासवम् जगत दुरोषिन्तत्यति न चापुरम् ददर्श देहो हत कल्मषः सती शदः प्रज्वाल समाधि जागन अग्निना. Sati concentrated all her meditation on the holy lotus feet of her husband Lord Shiva, who is the supreme spiritual master of all the world. Thus, she became completely cleansed of all taints of sin and quit her body in a blazing fire by meditation on the fiery elements. Yeah, Samadhija Agnina. So that's how Sati gives up her body. And again, actually, it's a long purport, but I think it's nice to read this. Anilji? Anilji?
Yeah. Sati at once thought of the lotus feet of her husband, Lord Shiva, who is one of the three great personalities of Godhead in charge of the management of the material world. And simply by meditating on his lotus feet, she derived such great pleasure that she forgot everything in relationship with her body. This pleasure was certainly material because she gave up the body for another body that was also material. But by the example, we can appreciate the devotee's pleasure in concentrating his mind and attention on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu or Krishna. There is such transcendental bliss in simply meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord that one can forget everything but the Lord's transcendental form. This is the perfection of yogic samadhi or ecstasy. In this verse, it is stated that by such meditation, she became free from all contamination. What was that contamination? The contamination was her concept of the body derived from Daksha, but she forgot that bodily relationship in trance. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Tarun?
The purport is that when one becomes free from all body relationships within this material world and simply places himself in the position of an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord, it is to be understood that all the contamination of his material attachment has been burned by the blazing fires of transcendental ecstasy. It is not necessary for one to manifest a blazing fire externally, for if one forgets all his bodily relationships within this material world and becomes situated in his spiritual identity, it is said that one has been freed from all material contamination by the blazing fire of yogic samadhi or ecstasy. That is the topmost perfection of yoga. If one keeps his bodily relationship within this material world and poses himself as a great yogi, he is not a bona fide yogi. In Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.15, it is stated, Yat kirtanam yat samaranam. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Simply by remembering the lotus feet of Krishna, simply by offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is immediately freed from material contamination, the material bodily concept, by the blazing fire of ecstasy. This effect takes place immediately without a second's delay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so it's explaining the process. And of course, the Bhakti Yoga is Kirtanam, Shmaranam, and there are other like 9 processes, right? Remembering, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting Hare Krishna mantra, right? And it says here interestingly that simply by chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right, which we do by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra and remembering the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, yeah, by offering prayers, one is immediately freed from material contamination. Yeah. One more graph here, Sachin.
According to Sri Jiva Goswami, that Sati quit her body means that she gave up within her heart her relationship with Daksha. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also comments that since Sati is the superintendent deity of the external potency, when she quit her body, she did not get a spiritual body, but simply transferred from the body she had received from Daksha. Other commentators also say that she immediately transferred herself into the womb of Menaka, her future mother. She gave up the body and body she had received from Daksha and immediately transferred herself to another better body. But this does not mean that she got a spiritual body. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So see how Mother Sati gave up the body. It's described. Hare Krishna, Rasiksha Babuji.
हाँ हरे कृष्णा
हरे कृष्णा पढ़ेंगे.
तत्पश्यतांखे भुवि च अद्भुतं महद हेति वाद संस्मरण जायत हन्त प्रिया देवमस्य देवीं जहावसुन केनि सती प्रकोपिता. When Sati annihilated her body in anger, there was tumultuous roar all over the universe. Why had Sati, the wife of the most respectable demigod, Lord Shiva, who quit her body in such manner? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so there was a tumultuous roar all over the universe. Ajay?
अहो अनात्मयम् महदस्थ पश्यत प्रजापतिस् यस्यं चराचरं प्रजा जहावसून यद्य मतात्मजा सती मनस्विनी मानमभीक्षण महर्ति. It was astonishing that Daksha, who was Prajapati, the maintainer of all living entities, was so disrespectful to his own daughter Sati, who was not only chaste but was also a great soul, that she gave up her body because of his neglect. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Anilji? Anilji? अनिल जी पढ़ेंगे आप?
जी हाँ. सोयम दुर्मर्ष हृदयो ब्रह्मधुक च लोकेपकीर्तिम महतीम वाप्स्यति यद्गजाम स्वाम पुरुष द्विदुरताम न प्रत्यशेदन मृते अपराधतः. Daksha, who is so hard-hearted, that he is unworthy to be a Brahman, will gain extensive ill fame because of his offenses to his daughter, because of not having prevented her death, and because of his great envy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so saying like aparadhatah. So that's a big aparad by Prajapati Daksh. Sachin?
तत्येवं जने सत्या दृष्ट्वा सुत्यागमभूतं दक्षं तत्पार्षदा हन्तु मुदतिष्ठ अनुदायुधा. While people were talking among themselves about the wonderful voluntary death of Sati, the attendants who had come with her readied themselves to kill Daksha with their weapons. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So if you remember, when Sati came, all the lot of disciples of Lord Shiva followed Sati. Yeah. So now they are ready to fight with Prajapati Daksh. Tarun?
Tesham apatatam vegam nishamya bhagwanam bhrugu yagya dhanena yajusha dakshinano juvahaha. They came forward forcibly, but Bhrigu Muni saw the danger and, offering oblations into the southern side of the sacrificial fire, immediately uttered mantric hymns from the Yajurveda, by which the destroyers of yajnik performances could be killed immediately. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So when Lord Shiva's disciple wanted to attack Prajapati Daksh, Bhagwan Bhrigu hai, yeah, Bhrigu Muni, and seems like there are hymns in Yajurved. So he uttered that, and by that he could produce basically anyone who is destroying that yajna could be killed immediately. So that was the power of those those hymns and mantras in those days, right? I mean, it says here is one example of powerful hymns in the Vedas, which when chanted could perform wonderful acts. In the present age of Kali, it is not possible to find expert mantra chanters. Therefore, all the sacrifices recommended in the Vedas are forbidden in this age. The only sacrifice recommended in this age is the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, because in this age it is not possible to accumulate the needed funds for performing sacrifices, not to speak of finding expert Brahmins who can chant the mantras perfectly. Yeah? But they are so powerful mantras, which is very interesting. Huh? Shiksha Prabhuji? अधर्वयूनाहूयमाने देवा उत्पेतु रोजसा रिभो नाम तपसा सोमम प्राप्ता है सहस्त्रशः. So when Bhrigu Muni offered oblations in the fire, immediately many thousands of demigods named Ribhus became manifested. All of them were powerful, having achieved strength from Soma, the moon. Yeah, it says Ribho Nam Tapsa. And where did they get the power? Somam Prapta Sahasrasha. Sahasrasha is thousands of demigods appeared. And it is stated here that many thousands of demigods named Ribhus became manifested because of the oblations offered in the fire and chanting of the hymns from the Yajurved. Yeah. So it says by chanting Vedic mantras or chanting the Gayatri or Hig mantras, one can attain the results one desires. So everything is possible if you are chanting the Gayatri mantra, but in the present age of Kali, it is recommended by Lord Chaitanya that simply by chanting Hare Krishna, one can attain all perfection. Yeah. And we'll read one more shlok. Rasiksham Prabhuji. आप म्यूट पे, अरे शिक्षा प्रभु जी आप म्यूट पे हैं. Can you hear us? अरे शिक्षा प्रभु जी आप म्यूट पे हैं. हाँ ठीक है. हाँ प्रभु जी आप म्यूट पे हैं, एक्चुअली आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है. या
तैर्लतायुधैः सर्वे प्रमता सह गुह्यकाः हन्यमाना दिशो भेजोरुषद्भिर्ब्रह्म तेजसा. When the Ribhu demigod attacked the ghost and Goyakas with the half-burned fuel from the Yagna fire, all these attendants of Sati fled in different directions and disappeared. This was possible simply because of Brahma Tejas Brahminical power. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yeah, Brahma Teja, that's the Brahminical power of Yajurved hymns. And very nice purport. We'll end with that. Tarun?
The word Brahma Tejas used in this verse is significant. In those days, Brahmanas were so powerful that simply by desiring and by chanting a Vedic mantra, they could accomplish very wonderful effects. But in the present age of degradation, there are no such Brahmanas. According to the Panchakrita system, in this age, the entire population is supposed to consist of Sudras because the Brahminical culture has been lost. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sachin?
But if anyone displays the signs of understanding Krishna consciousness, he should be accepted according to Vaishnava Smriti regulations as a prospective Brahmana and should be given all facilities to achieve the highest perfection. The most magnanimous gift of Lord Chaitanya is that the highest perfection of life is available in this fallen age if one simply adopts the process of chanting Hare Krishna, which is able to bring about the fulfillment of all activities in self-realization. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so I think quite important fact mentioned here is that, first of all, who is a Brahman? And it says like in the present day, there are no such Brahmans. Yeah. But what it says is a prospective Brahman. It's not because he's born in a Brahminical family, but the one who is following the Krishna consciousness and trying to get to the highest perfection. So the most magnificent gift of Lord Chaitanya is the highest perfection of life is available in this fallen age if one simply adopts the process of chanting Hare Krishna. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And this Maha Mantra, it's called Maha Mantra, is able to bring the fulfillment of all activities in self-realization. And this ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the 4th canto, 4th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Sati quits her body. And follow Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.
Jai.
So we complete the 4th chapter nicely. Yeah. And then tomorrow we'll start the 5th adhyaya, which is frustration of the sacrifice of Prajapati Daksh. Yeah. So what happens next is what we are going to read tomorrow. Okay. And so now I know we are a little bit over time, but we are going to so there was a Rath Yatra, which I think Tarun just saw from far. Tarun, you're like, where were you?
We were actually driving by the NYU because trying to show some visitors, some family I had. So I was trying to show them this is where NYU is in the downtown New York. And then we saw that there was a ISKCON event going on right there in the Washington Square Park.
That's interesting. Yeah, so that was this yatra. And actually Jay was there too, Tarun, that time. He could have given a tour of NYU actually. He is doing MBA from there, right? So
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think we are going to see this Rath Yatra in New York, which just happened on June 11th. We'll see for 5 minutes and then we'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And actually, you know, we had gone to Utah, Spanish Fork to attend that Sadhu Sang for 3 days. And a lot of Swamis who are there were also present in this Rath Yatra actually. So it's really nice, a lot of crowd there. So let's see it for 5 minutes. Yeah. So it's nice to see the New York streets, right? Filled with
Yeah.
of Hare Krishna and Lord Jagannath.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna, so it was really nice. I think I heard from a lot of people that it was really good experience there, being there. It generally happens around this time, and actual Jagannath Yatra is, I think, second week of July also. In Raleigh, also we are in the temple, in the Hindu temple on July 9th. And they've created a big rath. So it so happened that they were inaugurating that big rath in HSNC also. They created a huge rath. And you know Swami Vedanti ji, so he happened to be there. So they just called him to inaugurate the rath at that time. So last week. But the actual Rath Yatra is on July 9th. So it'll be nice. And actually this Rath Yatra also in DC, right? The Independence Day parade on July 4th. I think they also take out the Rath in DC on July 4th. So it's nice. I think Tarun also in New Jersey, they do the Rath Yatra at some point. Oak Tree Road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of places in New Jersey they do the Jagannath.
So it's really nice to see that. So all right, everyone have a nice time, and I will see you tomorrow, 10 p.m.
See you tomorrow.
EST, 7:30 India time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.